Welcome to BlackUSA.news morning show. I'm your host, William Honolulu Jr. Join us as we explore the news and opinions that impact our community. We break down how the major stories have a very personal, local, and racial impact. No topic is off limits, but even if the conversation gets rough, we're always going to keep it real.
Greetings and salutations, all my people out there in internet land. I am William Honolulu Jr., and I have the privilege and honor of serving as the host of the BlackUSA.news morning show. Welcome to this Wednesday, April 13th, 2022. It is National Peach Cobbler Day. Interesting, like when I found this out, I had to do a little digging. And what I found out is that peach cobbler was actually dish made of necessity. It was basically because people were poor and moving out west, and so they didn't have access to fresh fruits. And so what people did have were preserves. Those were, canned or jarred at the time, and then that method of storage was used to carry them out west. And so what they did is that they didn't have, to make enough resources to make pastries and stuff. So they took like biscuit dough, put the preserves inside, and baked it. And when they baked it, the biscuit dough looked all cracked like cobblestones, and that's how they got the name cobbler. And so peach cobbler became one of the most famous cobblers. Actually, for a long time I didn't know there could be any other cobbler besides Peach, because Mama Honolulu, she stayed on that peach cobbler. Her peach cobbler game is ferocious. Just FYI, Mama, if you're watching this, you might want to go ahead and get some peaches once they're in season, because I know I gotta wait till they're in season. I learned this the hard way. Don't try to get no dessert out of season. Also, peach cobbler was originally a breakfast food. Over the years we sweetened it up so that it's a dessert, but it really started off as a breakfast food, which I thought was odd. Not odd, but like it's funny how things start and then where they end up. I want to say big up to Breadcoin. We've been talking about them a lot, and you'll hear a lot more about them as time goes on. It is an opportunity to deal with issues of hunger and food access, and it gives people an opportunity to get food and to work with organizations and restaurants that are part of this community, the safety net for the community, and they get to do it with dignity. So you'll be hearing a lot more about Breadcoin as we go along. So I'm happy to share that with you. As always, big ups to the super producer and the assistant producer, Kyle Crazy Horse Morgan and Brandy Raymar. Thank you all so much for all that you do. Oh, big ups. This couldn't be done without the team that I have. And so I'm always grateful. I want to shout them out. But one of the things that we're going to do today is that I've been telling you all how we're getting a lot of incredible content on Black USA News. And so I'm going to take another opportunity to introduce you to some of the content that we have. Let's see. It's going to be awesome. We're going to talk a little bit returning clip. Well, not a returning clip, but from a returning show, People Over Politics with Martin Mitchell, the cannabis councilman. He had a really great show that we wanted to take clips of. So we're going to start with Martin. But before we jump into him, don't forget that we are hosting, Black USA News is hosting two workshops this month. One for starting a nonprofit, the other for writing grants for a nonprofit. And throughout the show, you'll see advertising for it. And also in the link in the descriptions, if you're on Facebook, I think Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, there should be links in the description. If not, you can always hit us up at info@grindinggang.com. We'll scroll that out along the base of it. Let's see. Let's get into it. People Over Politics, Martin's show this past Sunday. He had Rahila Ahmed. She is a candidate for office and had a really great and really interesting take on the value of inclusion and the value that people find in seeing themselves reflected in the electorate. Well, in their elected officials.
people running, they don't knock in South Laurel. I feel like they don't do events in South Laurel. So what will you do differently, to prioritize South Laurel and because it's definitely been considered the redheaded stepchild, even in terms of development, just looking at the development that comes to South Laurel as opposed to the other parts of District 23 or District 1. So what would you do differently as the next senator of 23?
Yeah, I think a big part of it is being present and doing the things that need to be done in the community, like you had mentioned, right? Cleanups, information sessions, and also just meeting people where they're at, right? I feel like, and this may be just me pontificating, that the reason that a lot of folks in this area that have run for office in this area have not gone to South Laurel is because it's unfamiliar to them. They are, and they are uncomfortable with being in spaces that they feel are less safe than a municipal, than an area that is led and run by a municipal government. And so I think that that's something that needs, that's like a dynamic, and something that needs to be pushed up against, because that's not, that what makes a community safe and what makes a community less safe. If a community is for each other, if they work towards collective success, that's a good community. And every community has the ability and the capability of being that, if they're given resources, if they're given support, and if they work together. And so I think that's a piece of the puzzle. The other piece of the puzzle too is that this district that I'm representing has historically been held by moderate to conservative leaning Democrats for years, for decades. And making sure that we're advancing a candidate with progressive values that's going to be able to advocate for all of the members of the community, whether it's South Laurel all the way down to Upper Marlboro, is really key and crucial at this moment. And that's possible now because we have an appointed senator, because we have an appointed delegate, because our county council member is term limited. All of those things will allow for the types of changes I think that we need in leadership in this area.
Agreed. And are there in the district? Of course, I know that it's very diverse, but definitely very affluent. Definitely very demographically diverse. Are there groups that you see being a challenge to interact and connect with, in your district? Because of course, I would think that young people, progressives, people of color, would obviously be your key targets. But are there any groups that you're trying to work harder and more intentional to connect with?
Yeah, I'm definitely working very hard to connect with young people in this race. Being a person that has run, as a college student, I recognize the importance of making sure that young people are involved. And also for my day job, I work for a nonprofit that focuses on institutionalizing voting on college campuses across the country. And so getting young people out to vote, making sure that they have the information that they need to vote is very key, crucial, and important for me, just personally and professionally. And one way that I've tried to implement that into my campaign is that I have weekly training sessions for young people, college students and high school students that want to get involved, in which I demystify the entire process of running for office. We sit down, we talk about, okay, how do you use the voter database? What are the things that you need to look at when you're thinking of messaging and mailers? How do you go door to door, right? What are the different things you need to think about when you're doing opposition research, right? All of these tiny things that all build up and make a bigger campaign. And so I'm having those types of sessions with young people that want to get involved. I've been doing so for the past 2 months. And I think that is the type of leadership and legacy I think we need overall, like not just in my little district, but across the board in the state, in the county, and in the state, showing folks that running for office, although daunting, is doable. And it's doable for people that may not traditionally think of themselves as candidates. I didn't traditionally think of myself as a candidate. Actually, when I first ran, I was thinking back about this a couple of years ago. I was like, I don't remember ever seeing another hijabi person running for office when I was running 10 years ago, right? That was not that there
True.
was no role model that I could say this is a person. Now folks can say that. I actually have a WhatsApp group that I created of hijabi elected officials from across the country, and there's like a dozen of us now, at least. And these are the folks that I know. And so there are role models now for people to be able to say, oh, hey, this is not, I don't traditionally think of being in politics, but I see this person that looks like me or that shares my values in office. And why not, right? Why can't I do it? So that's a big thing for me.
If you think that was good, this next clip is going to be amazing. This is Shared Space with Quita and Chap. Their guest is Charlene Rock Foster, and they're talking about digital equity, especially when it comes to the unstably housed people and families. And also talking about digital inequity when it comes to students in schools and how all this whole remote stuff has worked itself out and what the implications that it has for us moving forward.
Not mistaken, let me see, it like over 20,000 households did not have access to internet. So that was a problem right there.
And
let me add this also, Jeff, that one thing that people often like exclude when they think about digital equity and inequity is kind of where I come in. The idea that not everybody has access to a computer or a cell phone. You know, I work with the unhoused population. Like, we're struggling to figure out how to keep their cell phones charged. And during the pandemic, so many things transitioned to just being available online that a huge population was excluded because in some cases, households only have cell phone access and there was no mobile, alternative. You had to use a desktop computer of some sort. So thinking of the instruments and the tools that people use, while including the modem, the router, are these things up to date? Are they going to be able to handle broadband, or is it an upgrade and a learning opportunity for the person whose house it's going to go in? So even when, the opportunity exists, is everybody really going to have access? So go ahead, Charlene.
So, real quick to compare, I'm sorry, because I have one more fact I'm dwelling on, because you said about 20,000 homes did not have digital equity.
More than that, because it's a wild number, because I wasn't even aware just how that it was that many.
When it comes to it, listen. So much of Baltimore's population is under HUD, housing facility. So when we take just the HUD population, 40% of those people have no digital access. 35% of those people are underutilized in their access, meaning they probably only have a cell phone. So even if we're talking about all of Baltimore, let's just think about the housing population that we all know that exists. And those statistics are, what we have the most recent of. So there's a huge deficit that needs to be addressed.
And that's what I wanted to share is a couple more statistics. We have 80,000 kids in city public schools, and you have multiple kids in a home, then you're talking about a significant number of people. And when we talk about our kids, if you're not from Baltimore and you're watching, you don't understand, 90% of those enrolled are labeled as minority and people of color. So those are some of the stats to go along with.
But to that point, if it's me and my two sisters and we all have to use the same computer to do our homework, like that's another inequity. That's another access issue, because now we have to use this one device between three people. Where, in some houses, there's multiple computers. Like most of the people in my immediate family, we have multiple computers in our family. So to think about folks in that way is hard for the people who are making the decisions and putting things in place. And it's really just something that is an afterthought when people start complaining, if they even find out that the opportunity existed, because it was never something that they had access to.
So go ahead, Charlene. Sorry to interrupt.
Yeah. So just so we can get exact numbers, and this is 2020. So we're in 22. So we're still working on that. 75,000 Baltimore City households, or 1 in 3, do not have either a desktop or laptop computer. And that was around May of 2020. And then specifically 19,000 households with children in the city do not have wireline broadband at home, or 34.7%. So that's significant in itself.
That's huge. That's huge. And so then that means that so many of those students rely on access at the school to get access to their digital connectivity, right? But if school is closed for a year and a half and they don't have access to that, and there's limited space at the library, or there's an issue getting to the nearest library because you know how public transportation is, it's like all these barriers. And so yeah.
Yeah, and think about the time where you hear stories about people actually going to McDonald's, trying to plug into a hotspot on these restaurants. And it's like, well, this is crazy. This is happening in 2020. In 2020, yeah, in some cases 2022. And that because
absolutely.
And that because we're not in this pandemic operation that looked like what it was in 2020. It doesn't mean that problems went away. And then when you're looking at how everything else is online, even just something like applying for a job or learning courses, all of these things are online. So if you don't have access
to that point, applying to the job, yes, but then obtaining a job, like now you have all these companies are going virtual, and now you don't even have access to those companies because you're not familiar with using a computer. You don't have access to a computer. You don't have access to the proper devices. And so it's yet again another barrier. So there's the barrier to applying to the jobs. Then there's the barrier to attaining and then keeping the job, because you need to have the wherewithal to understand, your digital connectivity. Continue, Miss Charlene.
Hey, you added that part right there, because I was going to cover that as well. So you're talking about the application, and then also when when you get the job, then you're looking at the fact that like the big thing was to work remotely, right? And even in our population, like maybe less than 35% of African Americans were able to work remotely. 35%.
That's huge. Yeah. That is huge. And for me, my degree is in computer science. So not to have access at home to me is just like baffling. That's crazy, right? But that is the reality of way more people than most people think. I was on 2 projects in the past year where part of the complaint was the access and the connectivity for people who had to call in or use a paper form was non-existent or an afterthought. And so in these cases, funding was available to, the larger population. But by the time everybody had access and everybody understood that now paper applications are being accepted, we're taking phone calls, we can't just do this online, again, people are marginalized. And so it's like a continuous vicious cycle, unfortunately.
One thing I'll add, go a little deeper on your stats. You said 35%.
35%. Mm-hmm.
Well,
take into account
and take into account that only 12% of specifically African Americans in America are employed right now. Well, as of 2021. So take 12% of those who are able to work, and now you just cut that down to 1/3 of that. So you're talking 4% now that are working. That's tough. Those are tough stats.
Right.
And I feel like in Baltimore, I will say, And on a positive, the silver lining is that there is a huge boom in entrepreneurship that I've seen. I've been here 44 years. I never seen people starting so many businesses now. So like the flip to the other side of it, we're not working for someone, but we're getting people hitting these streets, and there's like so many entrepreneur programs across the city. If you got a business idea, you should have been done it. And there's like so many people doing it. They will help you. We will help you.
Absolutely.
We got 5-year-olds starting businesses, right, Quita? Am I lying?
You are not lying with the brunch pitch contest with
and them girls are doing a podcast on Saturday mornings now.
These are children, 5 and 7 years old, I think.
Yes.
Like, yeah. But those opportunities exist because they have access, because it's an online, you know what I mean? Like, let's continue to just see what digital access does for people. Like, if these 5 and 7 year olds didn't have the ability to use programs and put up their website and run their live stream, like, they wouldn't have those opportunities. So these are opportunities that our poor babies right here in Baltimore, right here in our backyard, are missing out on because the infrastructure doesn't exist. Like we know, Charlene, the map for, what is it? Is it the FCC? I feel like that's the wrong organization, but their map is incorrect, and Baltimore looks like we have more connectivity or something. Do you have more information on that? You remember?
Mm-hmm.
Right.
I can't remember the exact wording, but it was misleading. And actually, is because no, we don't actually have the kind of connectivity that folks think we do, which is why this is why that awareness needs to go out. It's like no, we just don't have it.
And that's why it's so important for people like you to speak up, Charlene, because so many times in my experience serving Baltimore and button heads with administration and government agencies is that they're relying on data, and data can be manipulated. And we're here screaming at the top of our lungs, no, this is not what it looks like. But they're like, well, the data says this, so the budget goes here and blah, blah, blah. And so we have to make noise and say, well, that's not how it works in real life. We have to tell them because they really think they're doing some stuff, you know?
We also have amazing relationships with our partner network, BeMoreNews.com. Be More News is another project, another network that was founded by Donnie Glover. Be More News, I think, has been in the game for over 20 years. He was doing this when this was just an idea at the networks. Donnie Glover created it, and he does a lot of in the community reporting. And this first clip is him and who was he talking to in the first clip? Oh, Rashawn Baker. Rashawn Baker is a candidate for governor in the state of Maryland, and he stopped by the Avenue Market, and he started talking a lot about what he found out when he started running for office about the two different Baltimores. But then he gets schooled about how it really is and what should happen. And I got to be honest, it's hilarious because part of it turns into a Brandon Scott commercial.
You know, I'm going to tell you this. I served in the legislature, right? And I served for 8 years. And Pete Rollins, who was a delegate here, was my mentor. And so I come to Baltimore a lot. And do you know I did not recognize that there are two different Baltimores until I actually started running for governor and talking to people? I'm thinking it's just one city. Because just think where we come from. We come from the Washington area. So whether it's Montgomery County or Prince George's County, we're used to D.C. Right. And so we're used to, there are different parts of the District of Columbia, but it's all one city. It's not segregated like a Chicago back in the 70s and 2000s. I come to Baltimore when I ran for governor and started touring around. I was like, oh snap! There are two different sides of this city. Yes, it's crazy. And if you don't realize that, you're thinking you're making policies for the entire city, but you're not. And so one of the reasons that we're here today and where we're spending our time is to see the other Baltimore city. Not the one they talk about or they don't show you in the network, but the one that we need to see if we're going to actually deal with these problems. Something that I'm proud that we did was, even without knowing this, we supported building the Red Line in Baltimore City. Because what we understand is that if you can't get back and forth to job centers, then it doesn't matter if you create jobs in a place.
Even with that being said, it's way easier to get around over west than it is over east.
Exactly. That doesn't make any freaking sense.
Right. I mean, it's way easier, like 100% easier to get around over west than it is over
Okay,
east.
I got a question for you. You're a governor, or you're on our team. You're advising us. We want you on the team. What would you do first?
God. First, in Baltimore, we gotta promote respect to everybody. We gotta break it all the way down, because you gotta think, like in Baltimore, they like, Brandon Scott, it's your fault, it's your fault. First of all, you got counselors and probation officers that really know the criminals. So if you like a probation officer and your criminal or your client didn't report this week, it's not Brandon Scott's fault more than, hold up, why didn't your client report this week? You know what I'm saying? Right. Now we got to check that out. These are the people that kind of really know the criminals. Brandon Scott don't really know the criminals. So now you got your probation officers, your counselors that really, family counselors, like, hold up, well, what's going on? Well, he's been acting strange, you know. Well, Brian, come here, I've been, you know. So I mean, so now, but guess what? Even before that, we gotta hold we gotta hold these families responsible. You hear me? Like, you can't blame Brandon Scott and don't blame somebody's mom. You feel me? You can't hold Brandon Scott responsible for that kid and over there. That's right there. But you can't hold Brandon Scott responsible for him, besides not holding his father or mother or grandmother or aunt or uncle. You know what I'm saying? So we gotta get all the way back to zero and start building respect. And guess what? Guess who can do it? This is weird, but Lamar Jackson. Lamar Jackson is the only person right now, it sounds crazy, but he's the only common denominator that could bring everybody together and teach them. Because guess why? He know Kodak Black. It sounds crazy. I know it sounds weird, but he know Kodak Black. And Kodak Black is like the code of these streets. The streets is super illiterate. The streets is destroyed. The streets is like it's super under. Like,
so we have breaking news here on Pennsylvania Avenue. Lamar Jackson for mayor of Baltimore.
Listen, Lamar could be mayor right now, but he needs the council. Lamar need to be the motor behind some uplifting. He could do it. He could do it more than Brandon Scott.
Right.
It's weird, yo. I know it sounds weird.
No, it's actually right. If you think about
Beyonce could do shit. I mean, shit, I'm sorry, but Beyonce can influence people. You know, Beyonce could probably influence everybody to stop eating from there. You know what I'm saying? She could probably influence everybody, yo. Stop eating that.
I think we need to sign him up and see what race we can get him in. The deadline's not till Friday, right?
That's right. We're still talking.
Hey, love you, man. Thank you. Thank you.
Keep us at VMoreNews.com.
In addition to creating networks and making sure that Black media is on the cutting edge and things like that, Donnie Glover also does a great job of celebrating Black excellence around the nation with the Black Wall Street Awards. Recently, Donnie was in New York and Harlem, and he had an opportunity to talk to Regina Smith. Actually, he gave Regina the stage, and she did the talking herself.
We'd like to ask Miss Regina to come to the front. We are in the Harlem Business Alliance. Miss Regina Smith has been running this place. Let's give her a round of applause. Thank you for having us.
You're welcome. Yeah. Well, good afternoon, everyone. It's good to see you here. You know, beautiful afternoon with this amazing gentleman right here. And I'm sure everyone who's here in this room is doing fabulous work and great work for the community and for our people. And so I thank you. Enjoy yourself. And
what should they know about the Harlem Business Alliance?
Well, that we're committed to helping entrepreneurs start their businesses, grow their businesses, become successful, expand their businesses so that they can turn around and hire from within the community. That's a mission that we feel deeply about. We know that it's incredibly important that we increase generational wealth in our community. We know that opportunities haven't been given to our people, that there are tremendous disparities, many of which can be reduced substantially if we have thriving entrepreneurs who are making thousands and millions of dollars and even billions, because we have a wealth of talent, creativity. Our culture is awesome. So if given the proper opportunities, we can do great things. And so it's very important that we do this work. And I think it's absolutely amazing that y'all are involved, because being an entrepreneur is extremely difficult. And working in the community is a challenge as well. So we don't win as often as we should, but the struggle continues. And I'm glad to see young people here in this space, younger, because we have to pass on the baton. It's just, it's the work has to continue. So, thank you.
There's one more thing, the cannabis legislation.
Okay, I didn't realize. Okay. The cannabis, so there's a component to the cannabis legislation that is supposed to result in social equity for people who have been most harmed by the criminalization, the mass incarceration of Black and brown people across the country. It was intentional, and I'll go so far as to say it was diabolical.
Yes, it was.
And it continues to be.
Yes, it is.
Now, unfortunately, the legislation as it's been written in a number of states across the United States that have legalized cannabis basically does not provide economic equity for Black and brown people. And it's going to be a challenge for that to happen here in New York State. There is very little real interest in seeing us profit from this industry in a big way. And when you think about the percentage of Black people, Black men and women, brown men and women, who have been harmed, incarcerated, our communities have been devastated for more than 5 to 6 decades. So we're talking about billions of dollars of harm in a multi-billion-dollar industry. But then the opportunities that the New York State legislators thought might meet our needs have been relegated to those aspects or those licenses that won't generate the bulk of the money. We have, and this happened under the Como administration, where he gave licenses to white multi-million-dollar companies. All of them, all of the medical licenses, white, they're huge. And so they have a tremendous advantage. And so we, as a people, it's very important that we speak to our representatives to let them know that we need to get real money out of this industry. It's a multi-billion-dollar industry. We were incarcerated, Black people, well over almost 60%. Latinos, 30-something%. And then you have the remaining, as others. And so when you look at the harm and you look at the percentages of damage done to our folks, it should be proportionate in terms of the amount of wealth that is generated from this industry. And so that means that we should be in cultivation, we should be in processing, we should have our consumption allowances, we should do everything that we can to make this money. But these efforts have been thwarted in other parts of the country, and there's real danger that they will be thwarted here as well. We have well-intentioned people in the administration and the Office of Cannabis Management. However, good intentions have been trampled on in other parts of the country. So I say this to say that it's critically important within Black communities, brown communities, that we create thousands of businesses that generate millions and billions of dollars for our communities. That's what should come out of it. If that doesn't happen, it's a travesty. I don't know when we'll have another opportunity. We saw what happened in IT, tech industry. You see, we don't fit the mold, right? So the culture, there's a culture difference. I mean, everyone loves our culture, but when it comes to, embracing us and bringing us into that industry, it's not a good fit. So, but this industry is definitely a fit. We've been in this industry for a long time. And it's important that we do have Black-owned businesses and brown-owned businesses, because we hire one another. We hire our own people. And so it's less challenging trying to thrive in that type of environment than it is to try to get hired in a non-Black or brown business. So we have to be real. The challenge is real. Our elected officials need to understand how real this is to us and that they need to deliver. And the other thing that we need to be really careful of is the language that they use. People of color, communities of color, MWBE. When you look at minority.
And finally, one of the newest shows on our network, Climbing Out, with Erica Alston Buck and Tina Devereaux. These ladies are hilarious, and they allow you to listen in to some of the conversation that good girlfriends have. Now, let me catch you up to speed where we are. Erica got off the market. She found her boo. Her boo thinks she was off the market, but as we find out in this episode, things weren't as good as we thought they were going to be.
And let's define the appointment. Hey, LaShawn Holmes, LaShawn.
We're getting caught up, girl.
Okay, we're going to go back to the appointment. And for those of you who don't understand appointments, when you are single, as I am, every single woman should have a dick behind the glass to break in case of emergencies. So a couple of weeks ago, I said, hey, I found my person. I'm off the market. And that shit lasted a whole week because Tina came in town and took me. See, get yourself some new friends. Like my friend Tina came in town. I was off the market. I'm behaving myself.
No, tell the truth. I came in town and did what grown single women do. We go out and we mind our business.
Right.
We have a good time. We don't have to check in with anybody. There aren't any rules to how late we can stay out. We grown.
Grown.
I
love you too, Juanita Rogers.
I came in town and brought the joy to you.
So we are single, and we've been single for quite some time, and we're doing this. So I'm off the market for a whole week, people. Tina comes to town. I go out with Tina. Tina DeVoe. I co-host.
That like this is
right. I've not seen Tina since July of last year when I visited Charlotte. Tina is here in Baltimore. We go out. We have a grand time. We go to a comedy club. Nice, innocent, like a comedy club, right? After the comedy club, we decide, you know what, the night's still early. Let's go to a nightclub. Because the nightclub is attached to the comedy club. It is not like we got some car service, right? We didn't jump in an Uber. We walked out the door into another door, and we were inside a club. And the person that I decided that I am off the market for is livid.
Ooh. I mean, this is
woman, right? Because he doesn't date women that go to clubs. and anyone who's following me and knows me knows that for a few years I worked for 92Q. Part of my paycheck was attached to going to the club, and I've not been to the club since. I left 92Q in 2015 and have not been in the club since. But my good girlfriend is in town, and we go to the comedy club. We go to the nightclub, and yeah, he wasn't happy with me. It's been 7 whole days that I'm in a committed monogamous relationship.
See, that's the bullshit you should have told him first. The part of the reason is you jumped in too fast. You was all in.
I was so convinced that I was so convinced that I found my person. Because if you are watching this podcast, if you have been tuned in with us, you know that we all of us collectively, you, me, Tina, everyone watching, everyone listening, we all determined that I needed to be in a relationship with someone just like me.
This is true.
Right? And we decided that's been my struggle. That I meet these corporate guys, and then there's the hood guys, but there's nothing in the middle. So we find this guy, and we're super excited about him. Super excited. Okay. Yes. I'm not going to see anyone else. And I picked up this damn phone, and I text.
And you started letting them know. I'm off
Don't
the market.
call me no more. Don't text me no more. I'm off the market.
Off the market.
I told one person that.
No, Catrice said they are not together no more. Y'all not together no more? No. Listen to the
Lord, right?
Lord. It's
so
over.
I take my good phone. There's all of these single men in it. And I text one. And I said, don't call me anymore, And for the record, I need to say that I only text one. Look, I've been doing this.
The others are trained, so they don't text regularly. They text when they're in town. And,
so all the my messages look like, "What's up, stranger? Hey, stranger," right? Because I'm not responding. I tell one, look, what did I miss? You're back off the market.
No. She's back off the market. She's definitely back on the market. She's
single in the motherfucker. What'd you say, Tina? Back like I never left.
We was off 1 week.
I was off the market for a week. So I'm off the market with someone who's got a problem with women that go to nightclubs. Okay. So, but we had an appointment. We're going to get back to this appointment. So he decides, I'm not who he wants to be committed to. Be still my motherfucking heart. I've been dumped by better.
I know. Call later. My God. Okay.
So no appointment. So was the appointment good though? This is why Tina started here.
Kippa. You asked the right question, baby. Listen to this.
Baby.
Go back and tell her.
Because I'm an artist and I'm sensitive about my shit.
Wait. Before you tell that part, what did you do before? You took him.
Yeah, that's what. Yeah, because we don't want to cheapen this experience, right? Because we were just in a committed relationship for 7 whole days.
And I had a word from you. 7 whole nights.
So I say, let me take you to dinner, baby.
That was nice.
Go to dinner. And we need to say that he picked Bygone and Bar One, the 2 most expensive restaurants in Baltimore.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
They left 6 p.m. to meet me at the bar. Right.
Yeah, which one, boo?
Right.
I handles mine. However, it's a Monday, and I typically go to work on Monday in some leggings, some sneakers, and a hoodie. And I don't want to start my Monday dressed for bygone at 6 o'clock. So I say, I set the reservation and sent him the link. Let's go. It's bygone. You want a $400 dinner, baby, for this appointment? Let's do it. Right? So I set the reservation for bygone. I send you the link. We're good, 6 p.m. And we have some conversation after that. And then we decide, it's Monday. That's not how I start my week. I would much rather go to a more casual place. But if you want bygone, the reservation's already set. We good. Mm-hmm. And he says, we can go somewhere less formal. And I picked 7 West. 7 West is still a $200 meal, but I want my sneakers, right? So we go to 7 West, and the dinner is $230, right? Mm-hmm. 50 of which are my drinks. I have, and this is important. Follow me, people.
I was about to say, slow down on this part of the story. This is important.
Follow me. I had 2 margaritas with 1942. Right? Don Julio 1942. There is not a better margarita on this planet, right? So I get 2. I drink one, have meal, drink the other. Then we have lemon drop shots together. Okay, this is a good Monday.
This is a good Monday night, yeah.
$200 meal, 1942 margaritas. Lemon drop. He has his old fashioned. We good. Mm-hmm. Now it's time for the appointment.
Oh Lord! This when it starts falling apart.
And we go back to his place. I said 2 margaritas.
Mm-hmm. And the lemon drop.
Lemon drop.
Mm-hmm. 1942, not 82, 42.
And I don't know who you are after some good cocktails.
I'm about to lay down. I'm about to lay down and get a little rest. That's what I'm gonna do.
So we get there and it's appointment time.
He's not even going to text you anymore. Can't wait till you get it out. I'm so excited. No.
Look. Oh, Lord. No, I'm good. Yeah, thirsty. I got bold and courageous.
Yeah, the she feel like I can do anything.
Whatever you want, I got.
Oh my God.
So although it originally started as my appointment, it ended up being his appointment. And from my recollection.
Wait. Is that the direction we go first? Okay. Okay, go ahead.
No. Okay.
Yeah, I don't know.
All right.
Mm-hmm.
The evening happens. The appointment is fulfilled.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Whew. Okay.
Good night.
Good night.
And I stay.
Morning.
Before we left the restaurant, I said to him, keep it. I have no intention on showing up at my office before 11. So I'm going to be waking up around 10 o'clock at your house. Mm-hmm. Can you keep it down so I can sleep? Because
you ain't got to get up.
2 margaritas and a lemon drop. I'm going to rest in the morning.
I'm going to rest, right? Rest and recover.
Rest and recover after this appointment. Mm-hmm. Now it's morning.
Morning.
And I wake up to, I laid that ass out. I wake up to, you was to. I looked over at you and you was knocked out.
Oh my goodness. Woo! They are hilarious. But that brings us to the end of the show for today. I hope you had as much fun today as I have. I am looking forward to seeing you later. We will be black tomorrow.